Hello, everyone. I'm Julia. I'm ready and willing and able to talk to you about this concept of blurring the infrastructure platform divide. It's something I'm really excited about. We've been talking about it for a while because it seems that there's this really big split in between the two. Who here works with infrastructure as a service? A few people. How about platform as a service? A few people. And it's an interesting choice that people think that they have to make. So let's dive in. So right now, if you're trying to build a cloud-powered application, whether you're building it from scratch or you're maybe trying to move something onto the cloud, you feel like you have to make this choice, and it's like almost a reckoning. You have to decide and put your money where your mouth is. Say, OK, well, I'm going to go with infrastructure. And for us on Google Cloud Platform, that's our compute engine, right? And it's a choice that a lot of people tend to make. It's a familiar concept. You can develop against a Linux operating system that you know that's familiar to you. It's an easy sell to developers because they're already familiar working in that environment. It's an easy sell to the people that hold the purse strings because they understand it really well. They've had to buy servers. They've had to make that investment. This is just in a slightly different form factor. But there's a lot of the hidden cost in terms of overhead. You have to manage the operating system. You have to manage the updates. I'm seeing some nods in the audience and some like, oh yeah, that's an investment that's a lot to make. And so the amount of code, the infrastructure code that you have to write dramatically expands. You have to hire ops people or DevOps folks, people who fill the function of DevOps. You have to put a lot of investment into maintaining your various environments, right? Sometimes they're not the same. But you get a lot of flexibility. Anything you can apt-get install on your local machine is probably going to be generally OK on your virtual machine. But let's say you don't want to make that investment. You don't want to necessarily develop all of that surrounding code that really doesn't contribute to your core features. Your offering, the product that you're trying to build, probably may not have something to do with the intricacies of how the network is configured. So you go with a platform as a service approach. This idea that you've got these managed runtimes that take care of a lot of the common scenarios. And for us, that's Google App Engine. And Google App Engine provides a ton of different APIs that make common tasks really easy. And it's a great way to go if you want to develop rapidly. Maybe you're a startup and you want to get your minimum viable product out the door. It's a great way to go, because you don't have to worry about the infrastructure surrounding it. You let Google handle that for you, or you let the platform as a service provider handle it for you. So that's kind of what's generally seen as the trade-off. But what if you didn't want to make that trade-off? As we all say when we're trying to think of new products and new features, there's got to be a better way. And we think there is. So what if this wasn't a choice that you had to make at the outset? And you saw this slide just a few minutes ago. We crib notes from each other all the time. So we think that the dichotomy between infrastructure as a service and platform as a service is actually a false dichotomy. We don't think it's real. We think that's the state of how things have been. But it doesn't have to be that way. And so that's our next generation of cloud. Give you the flexibility of infrastructure, but give you the ability to be agile in your development with managed services. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the features that allow you to bridge the gap between platform and infrastructure. And we're really excited about it. I'm really excited about it myself. OK, so let's start taking a look at managed virtual machines. So I'm going to make my bad pun here, so prepare yourself. At their core, pun definitely intended. They're based on compute engine virtual machines. I'll be the one laughing at it. It's all good. So what you get is the same strengths that compute engine has. The variety of machine types, the access to the native resources, and the fact that it's simply a virtual machine, except better. It has the same strengths of App Engine, some of the same strengths of App Engine, like easy access to the managed services that we provide there, and the developer productivity, the ability to develop quickly. How many of you have heard the phrase, you get Google as your site reliability engineer? Ooh, I get to introduce something new. Yay. OK, so this is the idea that with Google managed services, you should be able to get something that's kind of meteorite-proof. And it's kind of one of those ridiculous things. I'm hearing laughter. Those ridiculous things that we say, because with Google services, you can be rest assured that if, for some reason, a meteorite hits one of our data centers, we're going to be on call fixing it. We're going to be moving, we're going to be managing the disaster. We're going to be figuring out how to keep the services running. And we do that. And we have site reliability engineers who do this for us. And so you don't have to handle the pager anymore, right? Who here has been, I guess now it's a cell phone. Maybe text, I'm not sure. Who here has been woken up by the pager, by the cell phone, when your site goes down? We've got a few. We know how this goes. It makes us cry inside. But the idea with Google as your site reliability engineer is that you can sleep. You can sleep through. Google's going to keep everything running. It's going to be awesome. So if we take a look at the graphic on the right here, with virtual machines, it's really what operates in between, managed virtual machines, it's what operates in between infrastructure and platform. With App Engine, you can say, oh, you know what? I have an app on App Engine, but I all of a sudden need to do something that I traditionally couldn't do with a platform. Maybe it's access to a library that's not allowed on the platform. Maybe it's some intense data analysis in R, or access to graphic processing libraries in C that you typically couldn't do with a platform as a service approach. You can spin up a managed virtual machine from App Engine, have it take care of it, and all of a sudden, you've broken out of platform as a service, gotten the flexibility of infrastructure. But it's not just the other services that managed virtual machines have access to. And because these things are managed, we can do things like co-locate your virtual machines near each other so they have fast communication. So again, you don't have to worry about it. The second that we'll talk about is this concept of replica pools that you heard introduced just a little bit earlier. And this is the idea that you give us a base template for what you want your machine to look like. And we'll take that template composed of the image, the metadata, what you want going on in that virtual machine, and make it so. So that's one template going and spinning up many machines through this replica pool. And we also do things like health checking these instances to make sure that they're responding. And we'll restart them, so you don't have to if something goes awry. If one of them stops responding, you don't get paged, you don't get texted. We automatically restart them. And then finally, because we love developer productivity, your developer productivity is our developer productivity. And so we've exposed these features through the deployment manager. And this is within our Google Cloud SDK, gCloud. And the deployment manager is basically a JSON-based template, somewhat like you see here, that specify a set of modules for deployment. And what it does is it takes that template and builds a deployment to that spec. So So you can configure and specify what you want your managed VMs to look like. You can specify the disks, the network, the load balancer. You can configure how you want it to load balance. You can configure auto-scaling with Deployment Manager. And it's a really simple way to create complex fleets of virtual machines that can go out and do your bidding, like a minion. You'll hear that word a couple times throughout the entire day, I promise. And within this, we don't have it on the slide, but you can configure a health model. Define what you think is unhealthy for a virtual machine. And once it fails that check, we'll go and restart that virtual machine if, again, something goes wrong. So it's pretty cool. We're going to go back to a couple of the slides that you saw in the keynote and go into a bit more depth. Let's look at computing as a spectrum. I like to refer to it as the continuum of computing, but that's because I like alliteration. So at the base, we've got compute engine, those virtual machines, those world-class optimized virtual machines that we've done a lot of work to make sure they are fast to start up, seconds, from command to create to ready to go, have fast, reliable disk performance, and great networking. We've done a lot of work to make sure that that's a good place for you to develop. So if you want to go the pure infrastructure route, you can do that. And you can configure the networking and the disks and manage it with your own code or with open source technology like Chef and Puppet. And that's a great way to go. But if you say, you know what, I don't really want to manage all of it. It's a lot of work. I have better things or other things that my developers can be doing. You can take a step back and say, OK, well, let's ask Google to actually manage our deployments for us. And you can do that with Replica Pool. And then you can still handle the operating system updates and security patches, but you can make it a little bit easier on yourself. The amount of code to deal with the infrastructure lessens, and you can concentrate more on the code you write to develop features. But take a step back, and you want to hand a little bit more off, focus a little bit more. Maybe you have a smaller team. This is great use for when you have a smaller team, so you can focus their efforts. You can move up the stack to managed virtual machines, which we went into. OK. But you're just starting out, maybe. You say, I just want to write features. I want to write the stuff that my user is going to see and play with on a day-to-day basis. You can do that with App Engine. Today, you can do it with managed runtimes. And we'll manage your serving stack for you. But we talked about going up in the level of abstraction here. You can get where you want with agility and flexibility, figure out where you lie in that spectrum. But what happens if, say, you're developing your App Engine application and you want to move down the stack? You can do that. You can so-called break the glass beneath your feet and get a little bit more into the details. And you can do that all the way down into Compute Engine. So you can grow your business. And when you want a little bit more control, you can take that back. It's a really nifty way to develop. So let's do a demo. Yeah. So we're going to do a demo of managed virtual machines. We wanted something to really illustrate the power and how awesome it is. So we thought about what would be most applicable here. And we wanted it to be something that people dealt with a lot. And so this is a problem. We're going to solve a problem that I've seen people deal with at the office, over the lunch table, on planes. I even gave a tutorial on my living room couch once. No joke. Have I set it up enough? Yeah? OK. We're going to talk about Sudoku. So Sudoku is basically a logic puzzle where you've got a 9x9 grid, and you've got the numbers 1 through 9, and they can only appear once in a row, column, and 3x3 square, the ones that are a little bit darker shaded there. So I want to win friends and influence people with my mad Sudoku skills. So I want to make this automated. I want something to solve it for me. I've got good skills, but they're like, sometimes the expert puzzles mystify me. So let's make it happen with managed virtual machines. Well, luckily, we've got Peter Norvig. Peter Norvig is one of the parents of modern artificial intelligence. He quite literally wrote the book on artificial intelligence, and I actually have it back home. Every 800 pages was scintillating. And he wrote a fantastic essay, I highly recommend you check it out afterwards, on solving any Sudoku puzzle. If it's solvable, it can do it. So we can transform a Sudoku board into a data structure, feed it into the algorithm, and it will go and give us the answer. Pretty nifty. But I've got this. I've got the one in the airline magazine. I've got the one in the booklet that my parents gave me. And they're not going to wait for me to go move it to a data structure, run the algorithm, and then give them the answer. That's not going to be quite as impressive as it could be. So what we want is to be able to solve this one on paper. And luckily, there's computer vision to help us along the way. There's a library, an open source library called OpenCV that implements a variety of computer vision libraries. But my front end for my application is on App Engine. And App Engine has a lot of runtimes, but it doesn't do C and C+ code, which is what OpenCV is implemented in. So I'm in this bit of a quandary here, except I just gave this talk about managed virtual machines. We can break the glass of App Engine and go to managed VMs. So this is what our architecture somewhat looks like. And as far as architecture diagrams go, it's pretty simple. Requests for the images come into the App Engine front end. We'll feed them into the task queue, which is Google's distributed queuing service. And that task queue will farm out the image to a managed virtual machine on our backend. That backend has OpenCV installed. It'll solve the puzzle and then return it, and will impress a lot of people, I'm positive. So if you've developed an App Engine application, the app.yaml on the left will be somewhat familiar. But it's not that complicated. What we're going to do is this is talking about our front end here. We've got a Python runtime, because we at Google love Python. We've got some handlers for the URLs, and we're going to use some libraries. It's not super important. On the right-hand side is our backend specification. And this is what we're running on those virtual machines. And the things to note here are these. This VM:true tells us that we're going to be running on a managed virtual machine. And these VM settings at the bottom tell us what's going on there. So we're going to run on an N1 standard one. This is one of our standard instance types for Compute Engine. And we're going to install some software with this apt-get install section. And we're obviously going to be installing OpenCV, but you can install whatever you want there, right? You can think of what your use case would be. And then to deploy it, it's one line. gcloud app update, and then the path to your application directory. In this case, we're in our application directory. So let's do the live demo. And I think I actually have to unlock my machine now. So 1 second before we switch. OK, can we switch to the demo, please? Awesome. So this is our nifty, where's my mouse, App Engine front end. And what we're going to do is capture a picture. And so you know that it's live. Hi. We're going to do some magic and take a picture of our... Oh, man, I had already set it up. Hi. OK, so let's capture this Sudoku puzzle. And the image recognition software is looking for lines. So it can do line detection, and it's going to look for these lines on the outside to recognize the puzzle. You could probably do this in a bit more of a sophisticated way, but it's a demo. It illustrates a concept. So let's focus it, shall we? Yeah. Awesome. Much better. Now nobody gets a migraine. So let's take an image. That looks pretty good. Could be better. But what we're going to do now is tell it to solve it. We're going to pray to the demo gods, make a sacrifice. Oh, no. And this is how you know it's a live demo. Yeah. So let's try it again. We're going to use a different puzzle. Mandy can confirm this worked during rehearsal. She'll back me up here. Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Can we maybe lower the lights on the stage? Would that be possible? Let's see if that works a little bit better. How does that look, guys? Let's try it. Did that actually change? Yeah, OK. Whew, sanity check. Yes! Oh, woohoo! We got it. So this is your day to learn how to impress your colleagues, impress your friends. And we'll go back to the slides if you get a chance. Thank you. Was it correct? You know what? I'll let you check that out. We'll file a bug with Peter Norvig if it isn't. OK, so that's our live demo. But what happens if this application gets under load? App Engine autoscales. Problem solved. No. No, right? So App Engine does autoscale. So once traffic increases, we will increase the number of front ends for you automatically, which is awesome. But that task queue will just get longer and longer, right? Because we have a number of virtual machines. They'll keep going. They'll keep returning puzzles. But what we actually need to do is increase the number of virtual machines, managed VMs, on the back end. And you can actually do this programmatically. Simply with one line, we use the modules library and set the number of instances. And because you actually know what's going on the back end, we actually don't, right? We don't necessarily know what your flow is. Do they know we're using OpenCV to solve this puzzle? Probably not. They know we have OpenCV installed. But you know what the heuristic is going to be. And so you can tell us when to scale up the number of instances and to scale down, simply by calling this line. Cool. OK, so that's I think we're at the end here. But don't worry, I return on stage at some point today. So the thing to take away is this choice that you've been told that you have to make, infrastructure or platform, it's a false dichotomy. It operates in between the two. We have a great set of technology that helps you out doing that and letting you break the glass when you need to move up in terms of agility or down in terms of flexibility. And we're only getting started, so we hope you join us, and we can't wait to see what you build. So thank you.